What do you do with the policeman?
Well, I'm the police chief, so that means I am in charge of the department. It includes not just policemen, but police women, and it also includes dispatchers and records people and other kinds of enforcement people who do the parking laws and code enforcement, things like that.
What is stranger danger?
Well, it's a pretty simple concept, and it's something your parents may have told you. Most kids' parents say, don't talk to strangers, right? Yeah, so, well, the idea is to recognize that strangers can be dangerous, and that if they are a stranger, you don't get into a car with them, you don't walk with them, you don't get close to them, and you don't talk with them. So it's pretty simple. You just stay away from people that are strange to you. And it's important because there have been cases where kids have gotten mixed up with bad criminals and they've taken advantage.
What are some good tips for safety?
Well, as a young person in Lake Tahoe, the weather is always a big concern. So kids should always dress properly for the weather, avoid getting lost in the woods or on trails they're not familiar with. Things like safety on the water. In the summertime, lots of kids like to go swimming in Lake Tahoe. Unfortunately, we've had cases where boats have run into swimmers, and the water is very cold in Lake Tahoe, so it's important for kids to be aware of that and make sure that they are well supervised.
So what about the police dogs, and what are they used for?
Well, the dogs are used for a couple of things. First, they are used to smell drugs. A dog's nose is very much more sensitive than a person's nose. So dogs can smell drugs of all different types and help the officers search for drugs that are illegal. The other thing that the dogs do is they actually serve as a partner for the police officer. So they protect the officer. If the officer runs into a dangerous situation and is attacked by somebody, the dog can protect the officer. And also, there's another thing, it's to take bad guys into custody. The dogs will run much faster than people, so if a bad guy runs away from the police, the dog can catch him and take him into custody.
Why and when should we call 911?
Well, 911 is for an emergency, but we recognize that it could be confusing when a person is in extreme danger, or they're afraid, or something is happening and they're unfamiliar with it. We don't want people to get confused, especially kids, to get confused and worry about what number do I call to get the police. You call 911 to get the police. If you have time, you can ask your parents or somebody else what the administrative number is and call the other number to call the police if it's not an emergency. But we want people to call 911 if they need help.
What about safety tips in the house?
Well, the house is usually the place where people get hurt and injured, but the other thing that's real important in a household is to have an evacuation plan. Sometimes if a room catches fire, people might evacuate from the house, and then the parents might not know where the kids are, the kids might not know if the parents are inside, people run back into a burning house not knowing who is where. So we encourage families to have an evacuation plan. And that means everybody practices getting out of the house, and then they practice where they meet up after they get out of the house. So everybody knows where to look. The city has a website, and on that website for the month of January, we have information for creating an emergency evacuation plan for each household.
Thank you for joining me, and we'll be back after this commercial.